2 weeks down, another week upcoming, and an update to tide us over into the new year. Today we're going to be breaking down everything that changed here in what is a smaller update, but an update no less, for Black Ops Cold War, Warzone, and Modern Warfare. As we go along, let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of this update here? Are you liking any of the changes that were introduced? Maybe not so much. Whatever it is, feel free to let me know your thoughts. As well, if you are new to the channel, do be sure to hit the subscribe button. We're on that road to 400,000 subscribers, and we'll keep you up to date with all things Black Ops Cold War, Warzone, and all things COD related. So if you're interested in joining the community, I'd love to have you. But said, let's talk about this update. First things first, let's start out with the Cold War side of things. Admittedly, while this update this week is very small, you'll definitely see that on the playable side of things. Last week in Cold War, we saw the introduction of Raid 24/7, Nuketown Holiday 24/7, Prop Hunt, and Gunfight. Today, we saw the introduction of, drumroll please, Gunfight 3v3 snipers only, and that's it. But perhaps the positive side of things here is that last week's update, none of what was added was actually taken out of the rotation. We instead only had an addition on top of what we had last week. So the big bonus from last week's double battle pass progression no longer is on the table, but you still have a great bunch of modes here that if you want to rank up, say, your weapon XP, your overall level and rank there, you still can. You have Nuketown Holiday and Raid 24/7, both fantastic for ranking up and progressing through whatever you may be doing. Face Off is still there, another great way to rank up on maps that are much smaller scales of combat. But Gunfight 3v3 snipers only is exactly what you'd think here at this. Those bolts and snipers only, allowing you to potentially rank up your weapons a bit if you haven't ranked up that category of weaponry just yet, but also, again, some smaller scale action. It was fun when it was introduced in Modern Warfare, so here's to hoping that keeps up in regards to its introduction in Cold War. But outside of that, nothing else happened in the way of Cold War. On the Warzone side of things, though, in terms of actual quantity, we don't have a ton, but the changes that were made to one specific area are quite substantial. That being, the entirety of the Rebirth playlist was adjusted, and I guess you could even say the entire experience was adjusted as well. Rebirth no longer features its Resurgence game mode, but instead we now have Rebirth Mini Royale quads. So fundamentally, it has quite a few differences. Firstly, of course, we see quads in this instead of trios, but those redeploys are no longer a thing. So instead, if you die, you're actually taken to that new gulag, or rather, new gulag, if you want to call it that, I guess, because it's not what we saw introduced with Verdansk. We see instead a new one that is specific to Rebirth Island. So it's not that Nuketown look-alike training course that Verdansk had. Instead, it's one that's a little bit more compact with a little bit less visibility. And as mentioned the first time in the reveal stream, there's actually metal detectors that can give away your position in the center block. So make sure that you're aware of that if you decide to take that more central route. And if you have the calls for your teammates, if you're both in the gulag, make sure you help out your teammate and your squad mate there. So if you win that new gulag, you're back in the fight. If not, you can request a buyback from your team, or just hope they have the cash and like you enough that they'll actually bring you back. Now, perhaps the most interesting part to me, though, is the player count, because while other aspects of Rebirth other than the map have changed, the player count may actually be the most substantial of changes, or perhaps maybe tied with the fact that we don't have those automatic redeploys being the most substantial change. The total player count now is actually 40, which is less than what we saw within Resurgence. So to me, bear in mind, this is still without a ton of playtime. I haven't played the new mode here as much as, say, Rebirth Resurgence, but Rebirth was already rough in terms of total kill numbers comparatively to Verdansk. So if you're a high kill player that loves to chase those high kill numbers, you may not even come close to this in Mini Royale quads. Verdansk may still be that more high kill location if you like to go for those aggressive gameplays. I feel like the lack of redeploys here, the lower player count, it really slows down the pace of the game, whereas Alcatraz was all about that all-out chaos in the version of Blackout for Black Ops 4 and the initial outing for Battle Royale and COD. That's just me, though. Maybe I'm missing the mark here. Feel free to let me know your thoughts down below. But other than that, there are a few things that have changed in relation to Rebirth and some of the smaller details from the changeover from Resurgence to Mini Royale, mainly being that you, of course, no longer have that self-revive once you drop in on your first life. So be mindful of that. Pick and choose your engagements wisely. The initial zone times and area are a bit different, and other things like that. So keep those in mind, but I'm definitely interested to see how this plays out over the course of the next week here. But other than that, for other Warzone-centric changes, we don't have much. Plunder Blood Money is still the same from last week. Solos, duos, trios, and quads are still the same. And the one big question mark that I'm sure a lot of people had in relation to the meta and the weapon tuning that is likely going to be upcoming here in the future is, did it happen with this update for the DMR, Type 63, Mac 10, Diomedes, and other weapons alike? Now, the big brains that I've seen so far from exclusive Ace and J-God actually already did some preliminary testing, and so far it looks like nothing has quite changed in relation to any nerfs or adjustments in terms of weapon properties just yet. Now, to me, that's what I expected. I don't think that we'll see any major tuning until at least the next title update, which potentially could be the mid-season update, given how things are going in terms of vacation time and all that for the holidays. And we'll come back to that in a second, but it's kind of a bummer that such a painful meta is continuing on here. And yes, I know the footage you're seeing in the background is probably me using those meta weapons, but that's the thing, is that these things are so powerful that if you're not using them, you're gonna lose gunfights. So it's one of those situations where it's not just like YouTubers saying weapons are OP. It is quite literally something that funnels players to using one thing and one thing in particular. So hopefully that gets adjusted somewhat in the near future here. But as for the other changes, Modern Warfare saw some adjustments here, in which on the multiplayer side of things, we have Ground War, Gunfight, Gunfight OSP, Team Defender, and Cyber Attack Pro as those main playlists here available on offer if you're playing Modern Warfare this week. And then as for shop changes, actually nothing changed today, which is incredibly odd, and I'm entirely lost as to how they're releasing stuff here at this point, because it seems to be all over the place right now. But within the last 24 hours or so, we actually did see that first initial Tracer pack, an anime Tracer pack, come within the shop of Cold War and Warzone, including the Little Comrade AK-74U blueprint, the Big Comrade RPD blueprint, and the Tiny Comrade Diameti blueprint. Now, outside of that, of course, there are still a ton of things introduced in the shop from Season 1. There were like 100 bundles added in between Warzone and Black Ops Cold War from now until the mid-season update, so there's definitely stuff that will be populating your shop here, but in terms of stuff that was introduced at a specific given time, there really wasn't much. But if anything in that shop interests you and you wish to support the channel a little further, like Ryan, Patrick, Michael, and Spiral have, feel free to use code ESPRESSO in the in-game shop, and if you do, tweet me a picture. I'd love to shout out some of your generous support, but that's totally optional, and that's kind of where we're at here at this. Now, as of recording, that's the update. That's everything that we have across all three main titles here within Call of Duty, and everything we've seen introduced for this week, and it's not really a lot, and it's perhaps the smallest update that we've seen in COD for quite some time. But the thing to remember is that the teams at TREYARCH, Raven, and all the studios here, they're on holiday break more than likely, and as we mentioned yesterday, yes, there are live ops teams, but they're not in charge of fixing issues or pushing out major updates for games. That's not in what they do. So unfortunately, that's not upon them. And as such, I wouldn't expect anything major in terms of changes until at least as of next week, which is like the 5th, I believe, and potentially not even then, potentially just with that possible time frame of the mid-season update happening maybe on the 12th or the week after. So we may have a little bit of time here that is considered downtime for all things considered within COD, but that's where we're at here at this. So I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback down there in the comment section down below. What do you think of this update? Do you understand that it's going to be smaller because it is the holiday break? Are you liking anything in particular? Have you tried out the new Rebirth experience? Whatever it is, let me know your thoughts. But hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to drop a like down below. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure you guys subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things Black Ops Cold War, Warzone, and anything COD related. So if you're interested, make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you also want to follow me over on Twitter and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected outside of YouTube. Practically live on both those. So if you guys want to strike up a conversation, ask me a question, whatever it may be, that link is down there in the description below. But else, out of the way, thank you guys all so much for watching. My name is Espresso. I'll see you guys later. Take care and peace.